If you looked at me Tuesday morning at 9:15 a.m., watching Stephanie Walsh storm across the office floor in her designer heels, you wouldn't think I was the guy who could end her career with a single phone call. You'd see a 49-year-old man in khakis and a polo shirt, drinking black coffee from a ceramic mug that says "World's Okayest Employee." I'm Lucas Bennett, and to everyone at Great Lakes Maritime Solutions, I'm just the safety compliance guy who sends boring emails about proper lifting techniques and hard hat requirements. But I'm not just Lucas from safety. I'm a Q-cleared contractor with TS-SCI access, working as a maritime intelligence liaison for the NSA. For 24 years, I've been the invisible man who makes sure the really dangerous stuff gets from point A to point B without anyone noticing. While my coworkers think we ship commercial sonar equipment and boat engines, I actually manage the transport of advanced submarine detection systems and classified naval technology that could start or stop wars. Stephanie doesn't know this. Stephanie thinks I'm a relic from the old days who doesn't understand modern business. She's our VP of Operations, 38 years old with an MBA from Northwestern and enough corporate buzzwords to fill a dictionary. She wears power blazers in neon colors, drinks oat milk lattes, and talks about disrupting the maritime space while having zero clue what we actually do here. This morning started like any other. I was reviewing the manifest for Project Poseidon, which looked like a routine shipment of sonar arrays heading to a Coast Guard facility in Virginia. In reality, it was a convoy of prototype ANSLQ-47 submarine detection systems so advanced they could track a torpedo launch from 200 miles away. The route was classified, the timing was critical, and the security protocols were absolute. I had the secure terminal open on my laptop, a ruggedized military-grade machine that looked like a regular Dell to anyone who didn't know better. The screen had a polarizing filter, the files were encrypted with NSA-grade algorithms, and the whole system was hardwired into a satellite uplink that bypassed commercial internet entirely. "Lucas!" Stephanie's voice cut across the office like nails on a chalkboard. She was power-walking toward my cubicle, her nephew Jordan trailing behind her like a lost puppy. Jordan was 23, fresh out of college, and had gotten promoted to Strategic Planning Associate after working here exactly 8 weeks. That's what happens when your aunt runs the place. "Morning, Stephanie," I said, minimizing the secure window but not logging out. Standard protocol when interrupted. "I need your laptop," she announced, not asked. "The presentation system in the main conference room is down, and I've got the quarterly review with the entire staff in 10 minutes. Your machine will have to do." I felt my stomach tighten. I'm in the middle of reviewing some sensitive compliance data. "Can't you use Jordan's laptop?" "Jordan's battery is dead and he forgot his charger," she said, rolling her eyes. "Listen, Lucas, I know you think your safety reports are super important, but the grown-ups need to have a meeting. Just close your spreadsheets and hand it over." The condescension in her voice was thick enough to cut with a knife. She'd been like this since day one, treating me like I was some dinosaur who didn't understand the modern world. Last month, she'd actually said, "Okay, boomer," to me during a staff meeting when I questioned her plan to move all our data to cloud storage. If only she knew that our data included nuclear submarine specifications and torpedo guidance systems. "Stephanie, I really can't. This machine contains classified information that's not formatted for public viewing." She laughed, a sharp, ugly sound. "Classified? What is this, a spy movie? It's a shipping company, Lucas. We move boat parts. Stop being so dramatic and just give me the laptop." I looked at her, standing there in her bright yellow blazer, completely clueless about what she was asking for. In her mind, she was just borrowing a computer for a PowerPoint presentation. In reality, she was demanding access to a Q-cleared terminal containing live intelligence data about naval assets worth more than the GDP of small countries. "The policies are very clear about this type of equipment," I tried again. "I'm not authorized to— I'm the VP, Lucas. You work for me. I'm not asking anymore. I'm telling. Bring that laptop to conference room A right now, or start updating your resume." She turned and walked away before I could respond, her heels clicking against the tile floor like a countdown timer. Jordan gave me an apologetic shrug and followed her. I sat there for a moment, staring at the secure terminal. The smart thing would be to hard power the machine and claim it crashed. I could probably sell that story and avoid the whole mess. But something darker was stirring in my chest. For 5 years, I'd watched Stephanie treat people like garbage while taking credit for work she didn't understand. She'd fired good people for asking questions and promoted incompetents who kissed her ring. She'd turned this place into her personal kingdom, and I was tired of being her peasant. The malicious compliance idea hit me like lightning. She wanted transparency. She wanted to see what was on my computer. She wanted to treat me like an idiot who didn't understand the serious nature of my work. Fine. I'd show her exactly how serious it was. I picked up the laptop, still logged into the NSA Maritime Intelligence interface, still connected to the secure satellite uplink, still displaying the live GPS coordinates of a convoy carrying submarine detection systems worth $75 million. I tucked it under my arm and walked toward Conference Room A. The conference room was packed. 25 people from all departments, plus a few clients who'd come in for the quarterly review. There was the accounting team, the warehouse supervisors, the sales guys, and even some of the truck drivers who'd been called in from the road. They were all chatting and drinking coffee, completely unaware that they were about to witness the end of Stephanie's career. Stephanie was at the front of the room, pacing like she was giving a TED Talk. She had her sleeves rolled up and her game face on, ready to inspire us with charts about quarterly growth and market penetration. "All right, everyone, settle down," she announced, clapping her hands. "We've got a lot to cover this morning. Q3 was solid, but Q4 is going to be huge. I want to talk about transparency, efficiency, and breaking down the bureaucratic barriers that slow us down." I walked to the front and placed my laptop on the podium. The room's 85-inch display flickered to life, mirroring my desktop. From where I stood, I could see the minimized window for Project Poseidon blinking in the taskbar like a loaded gun. "Thanks, Lucas," Stephanie said, shooing me away with her hand. "Go sit down. Try not to fall asleep during the exciting parts." A few people chuckled. Classic Stephanie, roasting the old guy for cheap laughs. I walked to the back of the room and pulled out my secure phone, a thick black device that looked like something from 2005, but connected directly to NSA Maritime Command. I kept it in my palm, finger hovering over the emergency breach protocol. Stephanie fumbled with the trackpad for a minute, then opened her PowerPoint presentation. For the next 15 minutes, she droned on about vertical integration and streamlining workflows, standard corporate nonsense that meant absolutely nothing. She threw around phrases like synergistic optimization and paradigm shifts while displaying pie charts that looked impressive but contained zero useful information. Then she got to her favorite topic, cutting red tape. "You know," she said, a mischievous glint in her eye, "we have some people around here who think paperwork is more important than progress. Some people who spend all day buried in compliance manuals instead of focusing on the big picture." She minimized her PowerPoint and gestured at my desktop. "In fact, let's take a look at what our safety department does all day. I'm sure Lucas won't mind a little transparency." My heart hammered against my ribs. She was really going to do it. She was going to breach containment to make a joke. "Stephanie," I said, standing up, "I wouldn't—" "Oh, relax, Lucas. What are you hiding? Solitaire? Fantasy football? Maybe some online shopping?" She moved the cursor toward the blinking Project Poseidon tab. The room was watching, waiting for the punchline. They thought they were about to see spreadsheets full of safety incidents and equipment inspections. "Let's see what's so secret about Lucas's work," Stephanie said, clicking on the tab. The window maximized. It wasn't a spreadsheet. It wasn't a safety report. It was a real-time satellite map of the Great Lakes region with bright red vector lines showing active transport routes. In the center of the screen, a massive dialog box popped up in stark red letters. Classified Transport Manifest Project. Poseidon Payload AN/SLQ-47 Submarine Detection Arrays. Status: in transit. Sector 7. Clearance level: TS-SCI No Foreign Convoy. Value: $75,000. The room went dead silent. You could have heard a pin drop on carpet. Stephanie blinked at the screen, squinting like she was trying to read a foreign language. "What the hell is this?" she asked. "Is this some kind of game? Are you playing military simulation games at work, Lucas?" She still didn't understand. She was looking at live intelligence data showing the exact location of a classified naval convoy, and she thought it was a video game. Then she did something that made my blood turn to ice. She zoomed in on the map. On the giant screen, the precise GPS coordinates of the convoy became visible. The trucks were stopped at a rest area off Highway 2, exactly where they were supposed to be according to the timeline. completely exposed and defenseless. The screen showed everything: vehicle count, escort details, estimated arrival times at Checkpoint Alpha. "Look at this," Stephanie laughed, pointing at the screen. "Submarine detection arrays? This is ridiculous. Who has time for this nonsense?" She turned to the audience. "This is where your safety budget goes, folks. Lucas is playing Navy SEAL fantasy games on company time." A few nervous chuckles rippled through the room, but most people were staring at the screen with growing confusion. Mason from accounting squinted at the display. "Those GPS coordinates look pretty specific," he said quietly. "It's just a game, Mason." Stephanie waved him off. "Look at these made-up military designations. ANSLQ 47. Please. Lucas probably downloaded this from some war game website." But I could see doubt creeping into the room. Nicole from HR was frowning at her phone. "I'm getting a weird signal strength," she said. "Anyone else having network issues?" I looked at the clock. 11:47 a.m. The breach was total. Classified naval intelligence was being displayed to 25 uncleared civilians, half of whom probably had their phones out recording this for social media. Something inside me snapped. Not hot anger, but cold calculation. She wanted to see what I really did. She wanted to mock my fantasy games. Perfect. I didn't rush to close the laptop. I didn't try to minimize the damage. The damage was already done, and there was only one way this could end now. I took out my secure phone and entered the sequence I'd memorized 15 years ago but hoped I'd never have to use. Emergency Breach Protocol, TS/SCI compromise. Immediate containment required. The phone vibrated once. Message received. Protocol activated. "It's not a game, Stephanie," I said, my voice eerily calm. Sure, she waved me off, turning back to the screen to mock the font choices in the classified warning banner. "Very realistic graphics, Lucas. Did you download this from Steam?" The first sign was the Wi-Fi. The little icon in the corner of the screen turned from green to red. Then people's phones started losing signal bars one by one. "Hey," called out Mason from accounting, staring at his phone. "Did the internet just crash? My email won't load." "Mine neither," said Nicole from HR. "I was in the middle of uploading payroll to the bank." Stephanie groaned. "Great. This building's IT infrastructure is from the Stone Age. We really need to upgrade to fiber optic." She was still standing at the podium, completely oblivious to what was happening. "It's sunny outside, Stephanie," Jordan pointed out, his voice trembling slightly. "Why would we need storm shutters?" At 11:52, I felt a second vibration from my phone. 2 pulses. Phase 2 was beginning. "Stephanie," I said. She ignored me, still trying to close the window that wouldn't close. The cursor had frozen on the screen. "Stephanie," I said louder. "What?" she snapped, turning to me. "Can't you see I'm trying to fix this mess you created? You might want to check the door." She stared at me like I'd lost my mind. "The door? Why? Did someone order lunch? Just check it." She huffed and marched over to the glass door of the conference room. She grabbed the brushed steel handle and pulled. Nothing. She pulled harder, using both hands. The door was solid as a vault. "It's stuck," she announced to the room, yanking frantically. Jordan jumped up. "I got it, Aunt Steph." He grabbed the handle and pulled with all his strength. The glass rattled slightly in the frame, but the mechanism held fast. "The magnetic locks are engaged," I said calmly. "They're controlled by the building's security system." "Well, call maintenance," Stephanie ordered. "Tell them to reset the locks. Phones are down, remember?" A murmur of unease started to ripple through the room. The laughter was gone. The air suddenly felt thinner, more oppressive. "This is ridiculous," Stephanie said, her face turning red. "There has to be a fire alarm or something." "I wouldn't pull the fire alarm," I warned. "Why not?" "Because we're not having a fire drill." I walked over to the window. The conference room looked out over the parking lot and the main entrance. "Look," I said. Half the room rushed to the glass. Outside, massive steel bollards were rising from the pavement at the main gate like metallic flowers blooming from concrete. Heavy metal shutters were rolling down over the building's entrance with a mechanical grinding sound. "What's happening?" Nicole whispered, clutching her notebook. "Is it a shooter?" "No," I said, turning back to the room. "It's a containment protocol." I let my shoulders drop. I let the mild-mannered safety guy mask slip off. My posture straightened. My voice hardened. Someone unauthorized just accessed a top-secret naval intelligence database, I said, looking directly at Stephanie. You wanted to see what I really do? You're seeing it. You just triggered a federal lockdown. For a moment, nobody moved. It was like the office janitor had suddenly started reciting classified state secrets. The cognitive dissonance was overwhelming. Federal lockdown? Stephanie laughed, but it was high-pitched and nervous. Very funny, Lucas. Is this some elaborate prank? Did you hire actors? Is this like an escape room thing? Look at the screen, Stephanie. She turned. The map was gone. The convoy data was gone. The screen was now entirely black except for a single logo pulsating in the center, the Department of Homeland Security seal. Beneath it, a timer counting down from 2,700 seconds. That's just a screensaver, she said, her voice wavering. That's just a graphic you downloaded. Thunk. The overhead fluorescent lights cut out. The room plunged into darkness for a heartbeat before emergency. Red lighting flickered on, bathing everything in an ominous crimson glow. The hum of the air conditioning died, replaced by the pressurized hiss of the air scrubbers sealing the building. Oh God, Nicole started hyperventilating. We're trapped in the dark. Everyone stay calm, Stephanie shouted, trying to find her VP voice in the red gloom. It's just a power outage. The shutters are automatic storm precautions. There's a localized electromagnetic pulse jammer active, I said, walking to the head of the table where Stephanie usually stood. It blocks all cellular and Wi-Fi frequencies to prevent data exfiltration. Nothing goes in or out until they clear the site. Who's they? Asked Sarah, one of the younger marketing coordinators. People who want to know why Stephanie just broadcast the location of a $75 million naval convoy to a room full of uncleared civilians. Stephanie spun around, sweat beading on her forehead. Stop saying that. I didn't broadcast anything. You put that image there to embarrass me. Stephanie, I said, my voice cutting through her panic like a scalpel. You took my laptop. You ignored my warnings. You bypassed the security protocols and zoomed in on classified data. There are cameras in this room. The webcam on my laptop was active. They saw everything. Who saw? She screamed. Who's watching us? Naval Intelligence, NSA Maritime Division, probably Homeland Security by now. She backed up until she hit the whiteboard. But I'm the VP. I have authorization. I run this building. You run a front company that ships boat parts, I corrected. You don't have TS/SCI clearance for Project Poseidon. By forcing me to display that data, you violated the Espionage Act. The room gasped. The word espionage hit them like a physical blow. Intent doesn't matter with classified intelligence, I continued, reciting the manual I'd memorized decades ago. Unauthorized disclosure is unauthorized disclosure. Negligence isn't a defense under federal law. The timer on the screen ticked down. 2,100 seconds. What happens when it hits zero? Sarah asked, tears streaming down her face. That's when the response team arrives. They're currently en route via helicopter from the regional field office, I continued. Maritime Security Task Force. They're going to breach the building, secure this room, detain everyone for questioning, scrub your phones and computers, and arrest the person responsible for the leak. 25 pairs of eyes turned to Stephanie. Now wait a minute, she held up her hands. This is his laptop. He brought it in. He set me up. We all saw you demand it, Stephanie, said Mason from accounting quietly. I was managing, she yelled. That's what management does. Looked like bullying to me, said Pete, the IT guy from the back row. The alliance was fracturing. The staff was turning on their queen. Listen, Stephanie pleaded. Lucas, you can call this off, right? Tell them it was an accident. Tell them it was a drill. I looked at her. This woman who'd made my professional life miserable for 5 years. Who'd called my work boring and irrelevant. Who'd treated me like a relic who didn't understand the modern world. I can't call them off, Stephanie, I said. I'm just the safety guy, remember? I just file paperwork. Don't give me that. She lunged toward me, grabbing my arm. You know what's going on. Fix it, or so help me. Assaulting a federal contractor during a containment event, I said calmly, looking at her hand on my sleeve. That's another felony charge. She snatched her hand back like I was radioactive. Federal contractor? She whispered. I stood up and smoothed my polo shirt where she'd grabbed it. "Sit down, Stephanie." And for the first time in the history of Great Lakes Maritime Solutions, she did. The sound of heavy rotors began to thump against the windows. The helicopter was here, right on schedule. "Okay, everyone," I said, my voice projecting clearly without shouting. "You have about 15 minutes before the extraction team arrives. If you want to get out of this without being tackled, you need to do exactly what I say." They nodded. Even Stephanie nodded. "Take out your badges and phones. Place them on the table. Don't try to hide anything. These people have equipment that can detect a micro SD card inside a shoe sole. Don't make them search you." The sound of plastic and metal hitting the mahogany table filled the room. "What do we actually do here?" Sarah asked, her voice trembling. I sighed. "We do ship boat parts. Great Lakes Maritime is what's called a dual-use front. The government needs legitimate commercial traffic to hide classified shipments. If you want to move a needle, you don't send it in an armored truck. You throw it in a haystack and move the haystack." "We're the haystack," Mason said. "Exactly. All those times the inventory numbers didn't add up? That was me adjusting the manifests. All those times the basement elevator was out of service? We were moving guidance systems into the sublevel vault. All those night shift drivers who never talked to anyone? Private military contractors." Jordan went pale. "That's why the server room has that separate fiber line I can't access." "Direct uplink to the Pentagon," I confirmed. Stephanie lifted her head. Her perfect makeup was streaked with sweat and tears. "And you? You've known this whole time?" "I didn't know anything, Stephanie. I did my job. My job is to handle the paperwork so you can play CEO. My job is to keep the classified materials secure. Today, you opened the vault." A synthesized voice echoed through the PA system. "Attention, containment field active. Site is under federal control. All personnel remain stationary." The sound of boots on the roof, dozens of them. Then the stairwell doors being breached with explosive charges. "When they come in," I instructed, "they're going to come in hard. They'll shout and point weapons. Don't move. Don't reach for anything. Just look at the table." "What about you?" Mason asked. "I initiated the containment protocol. I stopped the leak from spreading. In their eyes, I'm the asset who prevented a potential intelligence disaster." The conference room door didn't open. It exploded inward as tactical officers poured through with battering rams and flashbangs. "Hands! Show me hands! Heads down!" 6 operators in full gear swept the room, weapons raised, laser sights painting red dots across the table. Stephanie was frozen upright, staring at a rifle muzzle. "I'm the VP," she stammered. "You can't do this. I want to see a warrant." The lead operator didn't argue. He grabbed her by the back of her blazer and slammed her face first onto the table. "Subject secured," he announced. "We have the hostile." Another operator moved down the line, zip-tying everyone's wrists. When he got to me, he saw the secure phone on the table. He tapped his earpiece. "Command, I have the handler. Asset is secure." He didn't zip-tie me. "Sir," he said, "please stand." The room gasped as I stood up while everyone else remained face down on the table. "Agent Bennett," the lead operator said, "you confirm the source of the breach?" I looked at Stephanie, pinned like a specimen. "The source is the individual you have secured, Stephanie Walsh. She commandeered a Q-cleared terminal, bypassed verbal warnings, and broadcast Project Poseidon to uncleared personnel. She acted alone, against protocol, over my direct objection." "Understood. The staff here?" "Witnesses, not combatants. They were watching a presentation." As they dragged Stephanie toward the door, she looked back at me one last time. The look wasn't anger anymore. It was pure confusion. She still didn't understand how the boring safety guy had just ended her world. 3 hours later, the shutters rolled up and sunlight streamed back in. The federal team left as quickly as they'd come, taking Stephanie's laptop and a bag of shredded phones. They left behind NDAs thick with legal language and a new secure terminal for me with direct access to NSA Maritime Command. The next morning, I moved into the VP office. The coffee machine worked perfectly, and the leather chair was comfortable even if it still smelled faintly of oat milk and desperation. 24 years of being the invisible man who kept everyone safe while people like Stephanie played corporate games above my head. 24 years of watching incompetent managers get promoted while the people who actually understood the stakes got ignored. Today, I proved that experience trumps credentials, that technical competence beats buzzwords, and that the quietest person in the room might just be the most dangerous. Some people think logistics is boring. Yesterday, I showed them exactly how exciting it can get when you don't respect the people who keep the world running safely. I think I'm gonna like being the boss.